Today at Commander Replay, can Goreclaw take on Wort, Vaevictis, and Ravos Tymna with his bare hands? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Goreclaw, Terror of Kalsisma. Take a look at ooh, that's a mana crypt starter with double acceleration. Alright, we should be able to get pretty crazy with this hand this game, so let's keep. And we have a Conduit of Ruin and Eldrazi. That Conduit of Ruin is going to find our other Eldrazi. I think we're going to be seeing Eldrazi really quickly this game. Unless some things happen, unless opponents start blowing our stuff up. But the way things are looking right now, this game is looking like it's going to get out of hand. Soul Warden coming down for the partnered opponent. Brings it back to our turn. We draw an Elemental Bond. Well, that gives us a reason to play Mana Crypt on turn 1. So, play Mana Crypt, play the Elemental Bond. I think next turn I'm going to go with Goreclaw instead of the Sky Shroud claim, because we can go Goreclaw, then the turn after that followed up with Conduit of Ruin, and I think we're going to be really close to Eldrazi territory after that. That's going to be 4 cost reduction plus maybe 5 mana in play, so 9. Needs will be a turn or 2 away. We'll have a lot of options on the table available to us. Looks like Wort the Raid Mother is also going to have a turn 1 Soul Ring, so they could potentially get off to a fast start as well. They do start off with a Filter Land, which if they don't have colored mana in their hand is going to be really awkward. It's a red and green deck, assumingly they didn't keep a 1-lander, so they should have something, but still, just noting that Filter Lands can be awkward. So as I mentioned, we're playing Goreclaw. Terror of Kalsisma is 3 and a green for a 4/3. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. Whenever Goreclaw attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. Pretty sweet little card. I've noticed that it tends to fill the same space as a lot of other green ramp commanders. Things like Azusa and things like Selvala. Kind of lives in the same space. You'll be seeing a lot of the same creatures that you play in those decks in this deck. I couldn't really think of any, interesting subcategories to go with, or think of, any interesting tribes to really build around with Goreclaw, which may be a thing to do. You may decide to build Goreclaw into some sort of janky tribal deck, which I think would be completely legit. Subtracting 2 from the casting cost of anything can make it, really good. One of the ones I thought about briefly, but didn't give it a second thought, was Worm Tribal. And then I remember that most of the worms are just utter garbage. Scaled Worm and Crawl Worm are probably the best of the two in that they are vanilla and don't do anything bad. Anyway, we get a Mana Crypt flicker. Go Tails in the Mana Crypt. Lost the flip, but yeah. So I thought about Worm Tribal very briefly and then decided not to, but certainly a way that you could go with Goreclaw if you wanted to. So we're going to cast Goreclaw right here, just like we said. And the thing that sealed the deal going with that this turn is also because of the Elemental Bond, so we can get some card draw going with that. Opponent's going to gain a life off of the Soul Warden. We drew a Triumph of the Hordes, by the way, so all we really have to do is get a couple of creatures into play, slam that, and this game can be over pretty quickly, if the Eldrazi weren't bad enough. Opponent's going to play a Reforge the Soul. Ooh. No, they can't. They don't have the red mana, and that's what I'm talking about. Filter lands are awkward. So we know they have a Reforge the Soul in their hand, which means we'll just want to try to cough out everything in our hand as quickly as possible. If they make a land drop next turn, they'd be able to cast it next turn, so we'll see how many things we can get down. Ooh. Yeah, that could be a little bit awkward with our Conduit of Ruin here. That means opponent knows that we'll be searching for an Eldrazi, and I don't like where that's going. Nope, not one bit. Oh no, it puts the card on top. Alright, so rereading Conduit of Ruin, the card you search for goes on top of your libraries. Actually, no. So because of the Elemental Bond, we will draw the card that we tutor for, based on the way that the triggers will resolve. Conduit of Ruin being a cast trigger, that'll happen before the Elemental Bond, and we won't be able to stack those because they're not happening at the same time. Opponent does lay down a Cover of Darkness, by the way, for Clerics. Tymna the Weaver coming into play. Gains another life off the Soul Warden. Oh man, knowing that they have Reforged the Soul is really awkward. I don't know, do they just slam it right away? I mean, generally with the wheel effects, you want to try to get the cool stuff out of your hand and then just get to a point where maybe you only have lands and things that are situational and not the best and wheel those away. I don't know if they would just go straight for the Wheel of Fortune right here. Opponent's going to attack with a Soul Warden and get the trigger for Tymna. Brings it back to our turn, Mana Crypt trigger. Going Tails again. On the flip, we draw into Selvala. Selvala's good. Play a forest, play the Sky Shroud claim, get 2 forests, then play Selvala. I'm going to take one shot into the Wort the Raid Mother right here. I'm not going to go crazy at them. I'll spread the damage around as turns kind of go along here. But I know that Wort the Raid Mother has the ability to combo off, and they do have a Soul Ring. And they have a lot of card draw in that Reforge the Soul, so something we'll need to be careful of. Goreclaw, by the way, pumps itself up, which is interesting. An opponent takes 5 commander, goes to 35. Gonna play an Isochron Scepter. Oh boy. What are they gonna put under the Isochron Scepter? It is a Nature's Claim. Yeah, that seems like a good card. Going to Nature's Claim on our Elemental Bond. That's annoying. What's funny is we could just Triumph of the Hordes and kill them next turn out of spite if we wanted to. That is funny. Opponent's going to play a Doubtless one. Power toughness equal to the number of clerics on the battlefield. Does not get to draw with the Selvala. And opponent's going to attack into the Vaevictis. Going to send 2 creatures into the Vaevictis opponent. Our opponents, by the way, playing Wort the Raid Mother, 4 red-green for a 3/3. Enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red and green Goblin Warrior tokens. Each red and green instant or sorcery spell you cast has Conspire, which you can tap 2 creatures to double that spell. Wort is usually a combo burn everyone out kind of deck. Generate tons of mana and play a big X spell or something like that. They can also go with the Storm route if they want to. I've seen that as well. Brings it back to our turn. Mana Crypt, going heads, lost the flip. There's a Kodama's Reach. So play the Forest, play this Conduit of Ruin, use the Conduit of Ruin, get our other Eldrazi. Conduit of Ruin comes in. Opponent gains a life. We will draw a card, Ulamog into our hand. So if we attack first, that would make our Conduit of Ruin a 6/6. We could spend 1 to get 6 mana, and that would put us at 9 total mana, just short of casting our Eldrazi. How frustrating. So I guess in that case, we play the Kodama's Reach right here. Get a Forest into play, and a Forest into our hand. We'll swing into Vaevictis one time. Selvala actually big enough to block some of these smaller things, so we'll just leave it back for now. So Vaevictis takes a hit, goes down to 31, and we will pass the turn. Let's see if opponent decides to go with Reforge the Soul right here. There's a Tormod's Crypt. Oh, that's bad. That is bad. The good news is, though, that even if we lose our Eldrazi right here, our deck is just chock full of goodies, and we are set up very well. The thing that we don't want to see right here is a board wipe. Cathartic Reunion for our opponent. Trying to find lands, maybe? Looks like they missed a land drop this turn. Discards the Reforge the Soul. That's helpful to know. Also discards a Reclamation Sage. Going to Isochron Scepter. Let's see what they go after. Gonna go after our Mana Crypt. Good chance that I use the Triumph of the Hordes and just kill the Wort opponent this coming turn. Well, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see if I feel like going for the Spite victory. I mean, they don't have their commander in play right now. They also just missed the land drop, so I don't think that they are anywhere close to winning the game. Maybe it's smarter for us to take another look at our other opponents. Vizier of the Menagerie coming down. Turn 4 is still getting through our opponents. Our second opponent, by the way, is Vaevictis Asmati the Dire. 3 black, green, red for a 6/6. Flying. Whenever it attacks, essentially cast a Chaos Warp for each player at the table. They sacrifice that permanent and then reveal the top card of their library. If it's a permanent, put it into play. Really interesting. Has that random effect to it. I've played it a little bit. I do need to retool my Vaevictis deck, something that I'll possibly do later tonight. But yeah, it's an interesting commander. Really lends itself to playing Primal Surge in the deck. So opponent lays down a creature, Selvala and Soul Warden trigger. Does not get to draw with the Selvala. Our final opponent, by the way, playing Ravos Soul Tender and Tymna the Weaver. Looks like they're on Cleric Tribal. Tymna is 1 white and a black for a 2/2 lifelink. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you may pay X life, where X is the number of opponents that were dealt combat damage this turn. If you do, draw X cards. And Ravos Soul Tender is 3 white black for a 2/2. Flying, other creatures you control get +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and both of those commanders have partner. Opponent lays down an Adaptive Automaton, naming Cleric. Gonna swing into the Wort opponent. Opponent does lay down a Cabal Coffers, by the way. They have 1 swamp currently, so Cabal Coffers not doing a ton. We draw a Greater Good. Probably not what we need this turn, but possibly next turn. Let's see. So let's play a Forest. Let's play Kozilek for 6, getting 4 off the cost reduction. Conduit of Ruin, pretty sweet. We get to draw 4 cards, draw another card with Selvala. Use Selvala to make a bunch of mana, make 12 green mana. What is the proper sequence to this? Do we need to cast Lifecrafters first? Ulamog will be 8 to cast due to the Goreclaw. We can slam down the Lifecrafters Bestiary, slam the Ulamog. We get to exile 2 permanents, definitely going to be the Isochron Scepter, and we will also get rid of the Cover of Darkness, since that does make opponent's creatures essentially unblockable, at least to everything other than Eldrazi, I believe. No, artifact creatures specifically. Eldrazi are not artifact creatures. And Wort the Raid Mother scoops it up. Thought they might. They were behind and took away the only thing that they really had going. Plus, we are very far ahead. We'll pay 1 to draw with the Bestiary. It's a Woodfall Primus. More triggers going on the stack. And I played the Eldrazi in that order specifically because I was favoring the more mana that I would get from playing Kozilek first. If we played Ulamog first and then Kozilek, we'd get to draw 1 additional card. But since Kozilek already drawing us 4 cards, didn't think it was that necessary. Decided to go with more mana instead of more card draw right there. And then we'll get down to the attacking. The Doubtless one is a 7/7, so we'll take something pretty big to get through that. So in the meantime, we'll just keep attacking into the Vaevictis. Goreclaw is going to pump up the team. Basically no board wipes, and I think this game should be ours. Or a weird fog effect from the Cleric opponent. Chromatic Lantern coming down for our opponent. So discussing the finer points of Goreclaw with our opponent. They said our deck puts theirs to shame. They didn't have any Eldrazi in their deck. I think it's really more of a testament to just how strong mono green ramp decks are. Without even like really having to try all that hard, you can build a really powerful mono green ramp deck. Goreclaw works great as a ramp commander. Selvala, who we have in play, also works as a great ramp commander. You have the old school one in Azusa, a very good ramp commander. So even Omnath isn't terrible. Omnath does things a little bit differently than the other ones. Omnath has the ability to get their combat damage itself, which is always something that's appealing. But if you're just looking to cough out as many fatties as possible, Goreclaw is definitely a good commander for doing so, as well as some of the other ones that I mentioned. So back to our turn, we get a Lifecrafter's Bestiary trigger, and we'll get to scry one. So put the land to the bottom, have plenty of lands in our hand, don't need any more of those. And we draw into a land anyway. Womp womp womp. Play the Strip Mine. I don't know if we need to do anything other than just like cast Triumph of the Hordes right here. Let's get down our Greater Good, just in case we need to sacrifice some stuff for any reason. So play the Greater Good, play the Triumph of the Hordes. Go to combat. Assuming opponent doesn't have a Swords of Plowshares or some sort of instant speed removal, the 2 Eldrazi should be lethal. So let's go like that. Send that one in just in case, and attack like this. Oh, and I forgot about the Annihilator. Yep. Completely forgot about the Annihilator trigger right there. That should put us into very good shape. Oh, opponent's gonna have Teferi's protection in response to the Annihilator trigger. So they're gonna get another crack at it, and they'll definitely get to swing back at us. Yep, didn't expect them to have it. They do have to exile 20 cards from their library, though. So even if nothing else, their library is going to start to dwindle down pretty quickly. You can't even take too many attacks from Ulamog without even considering how the blocks really work out. So opponent down to 62 cards in their library. All the damage is going to fizzle. Vaevictis actually doesn't even have to block. We've only got 9 infect on them. I was more concerned about trying to take care of the Cleric opponent that did not get lethal on the Vaevictis opponent. So they go to 9 poison, which is fantastically frustrating. I don't think we have any other ways to get more poison damage on our opponent, so we're going to have to start over in that regard. Opponent going to swing into us with the Vizier of the Menagerie. Yep, we are tapped out. Opponent's going to Hunter's Insight, so they'll get to draw some cards. Draw is 3 cards. We take 3 damage. Down to 38. So, partnered opponent phases back in, and they're going to have a wide open shot at us right here. Luckily, our life total is still high at 38. I'm not saying we can't lose, but it would take the right combination of cards to do it, especially with such a high life total. White and black aren't really known for overrun type of effects. There is that one infect instant that shows up periodically, but that doesn't really seem like it'd be at home in this kind of deck. Usually you'll see that more in a Voltron style deck. But a board wipe would be pretty good, especially one that exiles. A non-exile one would leave our Ulamog, which is... Even Ulamog by itself is probably just enough to get there because it's so hard to deal with, and it just keeps exiling your library. And eventually, even if you don't die to combat damage, you're going to die to drawing from an empty library. So, Ulamog, stupidly powerful card. I think it's actually become my favorite in Commander. I do really like a lot of the other Eldrazi as well, but the fact that it's indestructible and the exile 2 target permanents is really important in decks that can't deal with enchantments. It's going to be your black decks and your red decks, and occasionally your blue decks. Blue decks always have Cyclonic Rift, which can temporarily deal with enchantments, but Ulamog is just a fantastic way in a big mana deck to deal with permanent types that your colors may not be able to deal with otherwise. That's also why it fetches a pretty high price tag in paper, because that ability is useful in both Commander and Modern if you're playing Tron or Eldrazi Tron kind of deck. Don't know if that deck is specifically still in style, but I know that it was at one point. Yep, paper cost. MTG Goldfish has them listed around $21. Yeah. Pretty expensive for a card that was just in Standard not that long ago, especially now that it's out of Standard. Looks like Mono Green Tron is still a thing in Modern, and seems like 2 copies of Ulamog is where most people like to be. Ulamog also showing up in Eldrazi Stompy and Legacy, so 3-format All-Star right there. Did make a showing in Standard, I believe, at one point as well, but has since rotated. Yeah, just a really, really powerful card. I do like the fact that it's not as game-ending as the original Emrakul. Original Emrakul it's so powerful that the game just ends, which is why it's banned in Commander also. But I like that Ulamog is very, very powerful, but it does allow you a couple turns to play around. The damage output is huge, the indestructible makes it hard to kill, and... the exiling the library will kill you very quickly, but you still get maybe like 2 turns before you're really out of it. Ooh, That's a Retribution of the Meek. Destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. They can't be regenerated. So we're going to get busy with our greater good. Sacrifice the Conduit of Ruin. Now, the one thing, too, is that if we blow this Kozilek up, then there's a good chance that Triumph of the Hordes could get reshuffled into our library, and we could possibly redraw it. We're going to discard 3 cards. Let's discard. Let's just get rid of lands for now. Sacrifice the Kozilek. That puts many cards into our hand. Oh my god, that's a lot of cards. Do we have Reliquary Tower in this deck? Because we should. Discard 2 lands and a 3 visits. And we'll greater good our commander, just for kicks. Elemental Bond, probably not necessary. Not really feeling the Genesis wave right here either. And Green Medallion's okay. Boundless Realms is fun. Yeah, we don't need Sylvan Library. Too much life loss. Retribution of the Meek resolves. That does hit our opponent's Doubtless one, which was their biggest creature, so that's good. And that will flip over Liliana Heretical Healer. Opponent's still gaining life. We'll need to get a Thought Vessel in this deck and a Reliquary Tower. Each player discards a card. I think we can manage to pitch one here. I think we'll be all right. Yeah, I don't think we need Boundless Realms. We have Traverse the Outlands with an Eldrazi in play. We'll probably get most of our basics anyway. So, Cleric opponent showing some fight. And with all that, that does bring it back to our turn. We get to scry one time. Come on, Reliquary Tower. It's a forest. Put that to the bottom. We draw Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt, not the worst. So, alright, try to get a lot of cards out of our hand here. Play the forest, play the Mana Crypt, get the Emerald Medallion down. We do have Boots in our hand, so we can potentially attack with Galta if we want to. Get the Soul Ring down. Use Selvala for mana. We get 10 green mana. Actually, we can wait. We can get more out of Galta. So cast Galta for the minimum. Not going to pay to draw right here. We have so many cards in our hand. Selvala and Soul Warden trigger. We draw another card off that. Let's play Ugin right here. Use Selvala. Get 12 green mana. We're going to exile 3 or less just so we don't hit our greater good. That hits of enough of opponent stuff that I'm not worried about it. So we've got 12 open mana. Let's see what else. Currently have 12 cards in hand, so probably trying to get as many out of our hand, which means Rampant Growth, get a Forest, Lightning Greaves, Traverse the Outland, get many forests. Oh, that is a lot of forests. Still got 5 mana left, 9 cards in hand. Let's get Ronas Monument. We have 1 cost reduction currently. Get Ronas. And we are exactly 7 cards in hand. Not gonna... we'll draw 1, why not? Pump up the Galta a bit more. Yeah, sure, we'll pay. It's a Pathbreaker Ibex. Yeah, that'll be cool. Put the boots on the Galta. Swing Galta into the Vaevictis and Ulamog into the partnered opponent. Gonna exile 20 more cards out of their library. Puts them down to 40 cards in library. And in comes the damage. Vaevictis goes down to 6. We're gonna move the boots over to Ulamog. Ulamog, the thing we want to keep protected. Swords of Plowshare is a card that shows up in just about every white deck. And we will need to discard 1 to hand size. Let us discard the Krosan Grip since we have Bane of Progress. It's turn 7, by the way, and we have like 23 lands in play. Plus some really big creatures. Yeah, this is what Mono Green can do. Mono Green ramp, very, very strong. It's a deck that does get on my nerves a little bit because it tends to not want interaction. Like, when you play a green ramp deck, you just want to slam all your big creatures and hope that opponents don't have removal. So it almost feels like a non-interactive combo deck, in my opinion. Some of the time, it's just like, all right, can I slam a bunch of big creatures really quickly and then kill everyone with them? I don't know, maybe it's just the amount of resources that it's able to generate so easily, but it does annoy me a little bit, and I've been starting to run things like Armageddon more because ramp decks are getting out of control, in my opinion. Lurking Predator is coming down for the Vaevictis opponent. Ravos Soul Tender coming into play. That's not going to be good enough. Basically anything that's not Final Judgment or Descend Upon the Sinful is probably not enough right here. Hallowed Burial would also do it. Still doesn't deal with all the cards in our hand, but it would be a start. Skursdag, High Priest coming down. No photos on the card. Oh, there's the photo. My computer starting to have some trouble. When that happens, you'll see cards that don't have photos on them. So Mana Crypt and a Lifecrafter's Bestiary trigger on the stack for us. We'll go tails. Lost the flip. Down to 19. Get to scry 1 time. There's the Reliquary Tower that we were looking for. So we'll play the Reliquary Tower, just to be safe. Draw many more cards. Lurking Predators will trigger 1 time. Ooh, opponent got an It That Betrays into play on their side. Off of the last Lurking Predators trigger. Need to be careful of that. More likely we'll need to try and kill them right here. Surrak is useful. That gives things haste. I think we want to get this Pathbreaker Ibex down. Lurking Predators will trigger again. We're going to start pumping up the Galta. Don't feel like we need to draw any more cards. Play the Surrak Dragonclaw. We'll put Trample on the Ronas, which also seems really good. Trample and Death Touch, very good together. Play the Wolfear Silverheart just because it's a card that I like. Pump the Ronos one more time. Another Lurking Predators trigger. Opponent gets a Hauto Honored Physician. Put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Alright, creatures in the graveyard, just an anger. Does give him a blocker. Gonna get the Soul Bond. Soul Bond with the Ronos. Move the boots over... Oh, I could have did all that way better. Move the boots over to the Pathbreaker Ibex. And I'm going to play one more creature just to get another trigger from the Ronos Monument. So we'll put that on the Galta for the Pathbreaker Ibex pumping. Yeah, I've misplayed those triggers a little bit. Could have went a little bit bigger with the Pathbreaker Ibex, but either way, I'm not too worried about it at this juncture. And just to not overdo it for our opponent's sake, time to go to combat. Surrock Dragonclaw going to get to give something haste. We will give the Wolfear Silverheart haste. Ulamog into the Clerics. Galta right there. Ronos right there. And Wolfear Silverheart into the Clerics. Pathbreaker Ibex into the Clerics. And attack like that. Ulamog's gonna exile some more stuff. Pathbreaker Ibex gonna make things huge. Gonna F6 right here, even though there are more plays that we could make, but trying not to ham it up too much. It's frustrating being your opponent and sits there and plays through their entire deck, especially if they already have lethal. Really, we're just needing time. We just need to attack with Ulamog one more time, and that'll be the game. So Vaevictis gonna try and block. No blocks from the other opponent, and taking both opponents down right there. So Goreclaw, Terror of Kalsisma. As I was talking about earlier in the video, just another good ramp commander. Kind of retreads the steps of things like Azusa, things like Selvala. Just cares about playing a lot of big creatures. And as you saw right there, we had a Mana Crypt start, so I knew that it was going to be pretty crazy. We had Mana Crypt, we had a Sky Shroud claim in the opener, so you know that it's always going to be fast when that happens. But even without that kind of start, the deck is still just really quick. Cheating mana costs is always a problem, and something that they should probably stop doing. Because as you guys saw right there, we're able to do some pretty unfair things. It was like turn 5 or something like that, and we had multiple Eldrazi in play and things like that, drawing through half of our deck. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching. That brings it to our turn 1. We draw a Farseek. Oh, Farseek is not going to do a lot in this deck. Whoops. I was kind of building this in a hurry and forgot that Farseek does not get forests. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us. And right here, I think we just slam our commander. Oh, hey, there's no counters on this Gyre Sage, so it does not do anything yet. Oh, that is not ideal.